It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas and we have wonderful guests. And we had some problems yesterday with my technical difficulties on the show with Terry Cassidy, but thankfully she was able to most of it on her end. But I will run that through my channel again later. Anyway, today we have a very fascinating and interesting guest, Rick Jewers. He is a teacher, an ascended master, and he knows a great deal about this, what's going on the planet right now. So let me bring him on. Welcome.
This is a reminder.
Oh.
Hey, Gail.
Pay my phone bill.
Wait a second. I had to turn that off. Sorry. This is a reminder. Pay my phone bill and take my vitamins. Okay, I already did that. Anyway, sorry about that. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but I use a...
Yeah, it's all fine.
Anyway, I was reading some of what you had written, I think it was yesterday, about the spin of the planet, the Gaia, and what's going on. And I would like you to share that with the listening audience. It was fascinating.
Oh,
and then
right.
we can segue into GPMS world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let us say I'll keep this as simple as possible. And there's many ways to envision what is occurring with the ascension and how it occurs. How the ascension occurs, it deals with physics, of course, metaphysics, and the dynamics of this with the input from creation. And what we are doing to keep it simple, we are co-creators and with certain levels of that. Where I am from is of one of those higher levels that we interact directly with the creator codes that is in your energetic dimension, your atmosphere. And one of the reasons why we are doing this is because, of course, we are in this great time that's been prophesized about, written about for millennia, the new age, the golden era, if you will. So, having said this, everything that occurs happens for a reason. It's divinely orchestrated and divinely administered and regulated as we go forward. Having said this, what has occurred is that the planet, we are reversing what had occurred. So, for a moment, if you bear with me, we had descended down to the lowest dimensional experience ever. So now we are on our way up. And during the course of going back up, we have to erase what has occurred in the timelines. And one example of what occurs, to keep it simple, is that history will have to change as well. One example of this is you are finding and you're seeing that's been more predominantly in the last 10 years artifacts and archaeology, which is finding things that defy the written history and that also supports ancient civilizations advanced ones upon the planet. So, with this, during the course, it changes history and it has to change history. So, we go forward out of this savage paradigm and into a civilized paradigm in the least. So, during the course of this, everything is affected. And where everything is energy, is physics, what we do is we change right at the most minuscule atomic structure, but even subatomic. Atomic. So what we do is we change and we instruct the codes and institute the codes into reality to change reality. And this is why currently we have, let's say, two timelines that is going on, because you actually have a timeline that is futuristically created as a result of this, because the entire energetic field, electromagnetic field of the planet, the polarity and the coding of that dictates what can occur and what does occur and what is divinely incentivized and inspired to occur. So, and I'm attempting to keep this, as simple as possible, but as
Simple's always
inclusive,
good. Your light keeps going lighter
but
and
as
darker. I don't know if you
inclusive.
know that or not. But
Yeah.
anyway,
This is for a moment. Uh, there's only a minutia what we get the opportunity, or what I get the opportunity to put out to explain to ones what is actually occurring. But we only put out, let's say, enough data points or dots that they can identify with them and confirm them themselves, so that at least their interest is aligned in this higher new reality. Without a direction to go forward, everyone would just remain looping in this old reality. So, part of also what we do to advance humanity forward out of the looping scenario, out of the enslavement scenario, is we give to the world the new world that everyone is and will want. But we are creating it. So the more focus, direction, and desire you have towards this world, by the more of the co creators, when they have this choice, it gets created quicker. And it is no stopping what it is, because it's higher density. We are raising into higher vibration with this overall ascension. That's why energy frequency is so important. So, what we have done with the spin of the planet, if you will, in the energetics, which has reality coded in it, we have set what we call the universal clock for the planet, with the schematics for the energetic field to give it the commands to create the new reality. So, by doing this, it's already done. The energetics of the planet is rotating a positive polarity clockwise. And what this does, because each individual soul upon the planet, and there's only about 6 billion human souls, the rest are not. What this does is that each one's soul needs to be compensated, and it's being done manually. And what I will do, what we need to do divinely, is we're putting out a very short um, guided meditation with the instructions for the individual to do it with their energetic field, because you have Mother Gaia, the planet, her energetic field has been set forward in time to create the new reality, the new era. So, what has to happen individually, each individual to some degree, and it doesn't take all, it just takes the main divine ones that are upon the planet that have the ability to do this. once their field is adjusted with this futuristic clock, if you will, it is the dominant force also, that it creates like a hundredth monkey effect, that the rest of humanity, the rest of the human souls, has no choice but to come forward into the positive, benevolent new reality. And when I say they have no choice, is because physics dictates the polarity, and the energetics of creation dictates that we're ascending. So all of those that are ascending, they will come into this alignment to match the futuristic spin of the planet, which dictates what reality will be like.
Wow. Is there the lighting thing keeps going? I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. It might be distracting a little bit, but um, anyway, unless that's an electromagnetic thing that's happening.
Well,
Anyway,
I'm moving my hands, and this stuff we everyone does, including you. See, we affect the electronics, and because we are energy, but the higher that we are connected with our energetic values, and know the extents in the effects of it, then we do affect electronics much more, without going into too deep
that's like
that.
that's like some people I've known. I'm not one of them, but they could go through, walk into a store where they have those alarm things that there,
Yeah,
and they put them, make it go off when they're walking in. So it's kind of funny.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
had a great friend. Had a great friend. I haven't been speaking to her for years, but her energy, she was a nurse in a hospital, and there were times when her field would get too erratic. She could not go to work because the machines, the analysis, nothing would work properly. She'd be setting off alarms. So, yeah, same
oh, that's
sort of.
like the people who watches their watches don't work, or their, yeah, that's I've heard of other people.
Mhm.
I've known people like that too.
Yeah,
Very sensitive energies. Wow. Well, all that is changing as we move forward. Correct? The the
yeah.
electromagnetics.
Yeah, everything. Each person, each soul has an electromagnetic field. I mean, everyone knows that if someone has a heart attack, they'll apply electric shock or what have you to them. So it shows you have an electric field in the least, but it's electromagnetic. And yes, we are compatible with that. So your fields are being um, yeah, I can say morphed, but they're being morphed into higher uh, generating fields as well, because each individual soul are a generator to reality, what they put out there. And of course, we are in this great time. We're going to the heaven on earth scenario where anger, violence doesn't exist, so it needs to be taken care of here and purified out of the field, because it does not fit nor format with the new reality. So it's and hence the inner work, what ones cannot ignore. And some will kick and scream and say, I love to express my anger, but by doing that, no, it's you are not advancing. You have to do the inner work to master and control that, so that anger doesn't control you, because there is no anger up in this new world. There's only peace, love, harmony, community, all of the good things, and balance, good balance.
Boy, I so much look forward to that, because I was going to ask you what happens to these low frequency people that are into violence and that kind of thing.
Well, You know, distinctly, as I said before, with approximately 8 billion upon the planet, there is only 6 billion human souls that are able to change. The other 2 billion is what I like to say is a lot of constructs that were grown in labs through in vitro. But with this, and clones and cyborgs and robotics, these ones are
Okay.
unable to
Wow.
change their organic vessel to vibrate at a higher um, frequency to be able to sustain a reality in a higher dimensional frequency. These ones that were, I call them soulless minions and remnants of the darkness as well, is mixed in there. They cannot go to the higher realm where we're all going. And it's not about them. They belong in the lower density reality. Some call it 3D, but 3D is no more. We're actually in the fourth dimension with a duality with a foot in the five and one in the four as this ascension goes forward. But what we're doing is getting most to have both feet in the fifth dimensional state of being, which is the mastery and doing the inner work. But we don't need them all at once to do it. We only need certain ones to do it. For example, I'll use an analogy where which is a great one, and it does hold true, where one enlightened master, if you will, affects a million others upon the planet. So I like to use this ratio because then this means if you take the overall population of about 6 billion souls, this would mean you only need around 6,000, I believe, united in up to that divine stature and mastery that we are able to cause a flash in reality as well, because one can take a million forward if you wish to look at it that way. But to be able to take the million forward at the same time that the one is going more into their mastery, at regaining more of their co-creator abilities and values. At the same time they're doing that, these million others marginally to some degree are doing the inner work, and they are subjugated to get it done by what's occurring on the lower timeline. You know, for example, one thing, they need to find their divine courage, which is very important, and not
Yes.
accept this current reality, which is causing great misery and savage harm upon the ones. So, having said this, these ones here, they will be forced. Let's say if they're living in an apartment, they're making $1,000 US a month. Let's say the rent was 500 US dollars, but now it's gone up to 1,500. They only make 1,000 a month, so this means they're
I can
homeless.
relate.
Yeah, but what occurs it's allowed to divinely happen because they need to make a stand. And this is prevalent worldwide, but I like, that North America with Canada and the US, the intentional inflation that is put there, and it's allowed to be put there because the old reality, the old society is not where we're going. It's not going to be like that. And it takes every individual to unite together with the change so that we create this new moral and righteous reality. Where we're at now in this reality, it's not moral at all. It's
Yeah.
egocentric, it's selfish, it's savage. And, you have you have ones, one of the old mottos, which is an evil connotation, is you look out for number one, which is yourself. And that is the most pathetic and far away thing for one to have from what is morally and righteously correct.
That makes very much sense. So the people that when you talk about inner work, perhaps, I mean, I know what you're talking about, I think, but maybe the listeners would like to know how you describe that. What do you, when you're talking about inner work, or I don't know, shadow work, or meditation, what do people need to do very specifically? Because that's how people like to hear things,
Well, I
if you don't
love the
mind.
simplicity of the Buddha teachings, and at the foundation of that, be kind to everyone, and it means so much more. You don't wish to be generating out of yourself towards another any antagonistic, any animosity, if you will, and we also, if we look at the value, let's take the Christian Bible, if you will. When we look at what was the Commandments, but when we look at love thy neighbor, this is so important. So these is one of the it's one of the instruments to let ones know what is so important, with this. So uh, I'm trying to get back to your initial question without going too far
It's
off on
okay.
a tangent. But it's the inner work is the purity, and to reintegrate back into one's the trust and the morality, which is in the heart, which is in the intuition, to do what is always right and to treat everyone nice no matter what. And in this instance, it would perhaps defy um, a little bit of the things what one's read, like in the Bible, an eye for an eye. That's a no, no, no. But what I'm saying is that each one again, and I know I'm having a little deja vu, but we did this before. But basically,
Mhm.
do what is right and moral and purify yourself, and don't be controlled into a negative or a fear based action or reaction by something outside of you. No one should be making you angry. If they are, it's within you. You need to rationalize this and purify it so that you have control over yourself, that a fear based energy doesn't have control over you. So, this is the mastery. And to each degree, marginally, as we go forward, individuals are subjugated with experiences until they learn divinely to do the right things. For example, you might have um, two neighbors living side by side. This one, let's say she is beginning to go through her inner work, inner mastery. So let's say there was animosity and conflict between these two neighbors.
Mhm.
So if this one that is going through her mastery, if she doesn't act kind, be loving and accepting and compassionate to this one, regardless if this one is a little nasty, but if this one is able to make this one nasty, what will occur is that this one will keep getting bombarded with the looping experience of always an argument, but it will intensify. So the clashes will become more and more until this one gets inundated enough that they say, something is wrong here. I must do something different. And then it'll come to them, okay, I'll bake her a cake, or something to make amends. But when that occurs, then this one realizes the effect of the virtuous acts and actions. And they know then it's confirmed for them that there is something more with the way they are acting, and they need to correct it inside. And this is just an example
Well, that's a good
of
example. really, because there are, in relationships sometimes, whether they're, family or whether they're personal, or romantic or what have you, if you have who is being abusive, and rather than getting angry at them, you either you need to find a way that is the best way to handle them without pulling into it and getting angry yourself when you're under
And
attack.
if this doesn't work, separate as soon as possible, because it's quite possible they are one of the 2 billion that cannot change, and it's a waste of your energy and your time. So you must separate, depart from that relationship. There should not
Wow.
be any abuse once one has begun their empowerment process. There and is in line with the ascension. Anyone that knows what the ascension is, the basics is known in there. The keys to their ascension is their purity and changing their ways. These are some of the basics with it. So it's
That's
yeah,
fascinating.
without going too
Well, we
deep.
have a great deal going on around us, which people could easily be, pulled into, like what's going on in the Middle East at this time, or taking sides or something like that. So that's a lot of negativity that people have to transmute or stand up. Or I like your talk about divine courage. Um, let's elaborate on that a little more, because I think that people have been so indoctrinated with fear and fear of authority figures that they're afraid to stand up for what they know in their heart to be right.
Well, yes, their morality was robbed from them, their righteousness, their knowing what is right and wrong, but also their worth and their value was stolen from them by the system and the old reality. And what was your question again?
Well, just elaborating on um, how I guess how to deal with negativity,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
everything
Thank you.
that's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
around us and so on.
yeah, yeah. So divine courage. There we go.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the
So,
word. I couldn't even think of it. Okay,
so
but that's what I'm
with
talking
this.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, so why I said many were robbed of their morality, they didn't even know it. So, this divine courage, if you will, is the process of embodying that, reclaiming a reclamation of your value, of your worth, and also your decision making at knowing what to accept and what not to accept. So, in this case, you do not accept something that is unmoral and unrighteous, that is harming others, but you do accept and you support something that is moral, that is completely positive, that is assisting all, as an example. So many, as you said, were robbed, of their value and of their morality, and were afraid of governments and what they thought is authority. But this was also um, where I'm going with this, and I'll leave that one aside. I was going to take that direction, but I'll go in this direction. It's all being divinely orchestrated, as I said, that these ones will become more and more compressed until they make a stand. And this is part of them awakening and embodying the beginning of their divine courage to stand to do what is right. And with this, the entire great awakening, it's the reason why it's for. It never would have occurred if there was only humanity and darkness upon the planet. But the reason the Great Awakening has occurred is because there is the divine, benevolent force that has assured it, because the entire planet is set up for the ascension, for the new reality. And of course, with any construction of the new, there has to be the destruction of the old. And this is the process that we're currently in, that the old will become just so distasteful that ones will no longer want it and they will choose the new. So, the divine courage to do that also is to recognize that yourself, your own authority, your own ability to choose, but your own knowing what is right and what is wrong. And so, what this does also, by doing more of what is right, it lifts the veil, if you will, the fear veil, so that you can see, that you see things differently, and that you also know, by lifting, by not being controlled by, let's say, a minority authority, with that what one's called, let's put them in, far less than the 1%. For example, if you want to look at it, you could say 250 supposed leaders of nations on the planet. That's a relatively small number that is actually condoning, with some policymakers, and going along and making all of the choices for, all of the people. And it's ridiculous, and it's idiotic, and it is the insanity. But the truth is, most have been programmed and deceived and tricked out of their own worth. And this is why it was able to be done. This is also why the entire financial system and any derivatives is collapsing at this time. A capitalistic system is fear based, it's fraudulent at its core, it's designed to separate and disempower ones from their individual worth and their value, so that they can be manipulated and controlled. And this is why nothing else, and I'll say this, but GPMS.world will work for the planet and ascends them forward. And I say this with full conviction because I know fully who I am. I am one with Prime Creator. I would not be sitting here, I would not be doing GPMS.world if I was only human and had any doubt. It's because I fully know what is occurring upon the planet. So I share that with the utmost, um, transparency and integrity with everyone, because it is true. But the thing is, I could sit here and I can talk to the world all day and tell them I am one with Prime Creator. They don't know it's real. But the thing is, it doesn't matter to I, who doesn't know it's real. What matters is those that are like I, that does know it's real, that we unite together to get this ascension done for humanity. One might not believe I'm one with God now, but this is not to say that in a day from now they will come to know themselves what I'm saying is true. But it doesn't
Well,
matter. Well, it matters what we do in this now.
mhm. Well, I would think people have, maybe it's been programmed out of them, but people have forgotten about their divine essence that they received from Prime because they're part. They're and that's where the real power lies. Because I have talked to a lot of people who will say they don't like what's going on, they don't agree with it, but I don't want to say anything because they might get me then, that kind of thing. So there, and there's that fear, and that fear is very strong in people.
But with that, very importantly, and that is such a huge truth, but also what I wish to say to all of them, what you will find is once you stand, you will be supported by an unseen energy. So, for any that's in doubt or fear, just test standing up and watch what occurs. It will surprise you and it will be part of your confirmation that there has been direct divine intervention upon the planet, also in energetic form. So, for example, you may stand up against some authority that tried to abuse you, but by
I just did
standing
that.
up, yeah, by standing
I,
up,
I just
woo,
had an experience like that. Tried to stand up and was uh, thrown around a bit, but it's not over. Go on. I'm sorry. I'm
you stand in your divine truth, and if you're absolutely in your divine truth, what you'll see with the circumstance, it will be fully in your favor, and it will not be like it was in the past with an authority, what a so-called authority unjustly, let's say, taking you and putting you in a jail for something you didn't do wrong, if you will. What you will
Mhm.
find now is that you won't even come into that circumstance, or if you do, that the other is not righteous and it doesn't have authority or power over you for what you are standing for. For example, we are building the new world that is the most humane thing ever done, and nothing can oppose that because it is the highest divine truth as well. And that's on a collective level, but on the individual level, when you stand into your morals and in your trust with God and do what is right, you will see that things will change very quickly. Sure, you may have a test on your faith, on your trust, if you will, but with that, you always persevere. So you get to choose through your example of what you are going to do. Your voice may tremble, you may shake in your first standing up, but you
Mhm.
get better and better because you master it, and then there is no more of that. But the fear in one's, yes, they think that someone outside of them is authority, but that is not the case. The people are the power. It's that simple.
And they need to take their power back because they gave it away in so many ways.
Well, they
Um,
never had their power, so it's not a sense of taking it back because in reality, their power has been, yeah, tricked from them. And so you can say it's a reclamation, but at the same time, it's really stepping into your unprecedented power. When you look at what is written in history, always an aggression, always a fight with one's being submissive. When you look at the slave trade that was upon the planet everywheres, that was one's being robbed of their value, of their worth, and but we are in this time of great change, of equality and harmony, and none of that can exist again going forward. So there is the process of certain ones, yes, standing in to their divine courage to be the peers for the others as well. And there's a lot of trickery out there too. There is a lot of what you would call controlled opposition because with the darkness, they know the remnants of darkness, they know this is their final days. But like they've done in the past, any good ventures for the most part and any good teachings, they would infiltrate it and manipulate it, and
mhm.
to create false narratives to lead ones astray, all in the due course with the ill underlying agenda to control them and to keep the ones from their actual power. So in this great time, the real fear right now is in the darkness themselves, and this is why they have concocted. chaotic and fearful things. And what we say with it is for the higher consciousness co-creators, so that you're not adding insult to injury. Do not have into your focus in your consciousness any fear-based narrative, including what is occurring in Israel as well. Now, there are others that need to have an eye on that to console and transform that forward, but it also becomes adverse and, let's say, not pro effective if the higher co-creators are putting a lot of focus on there, because they are um, very powerful co-creators, and they would be energizing and amplifying what is going on. So these ones have to take that energy away so that this does not get bigger and bigger, so that it actually gets smaller by other ones that are doing the things to eradicate it. If we were all to put uh, if all of the light was to put focus on there, it actually would have an adverse effect, because what is in your consciousness is amplified, even if it is war, if you will. So ones need to be very meticulous where they are putting their thought energy to.
Their focus, because if you focus on those things, that's
You keep it in reality.
the other thing that I think of that I'd like to remind people of. And when we're talking about divine courage, courage is contagious. So as it's kind of like when somebody stands up to applaud something, one stands up for another, then another, then another, that 100th monkey type syndrome. And so, capturing and utilizing that divine courage is really important. And I think it's really rooted in the heart. And to see people do that is really encouraging. And I'm more and more of it now all the time. And as you say, as we're moving into the fourth, or we're already in the fourth, almost so much more truth is coming out. And when people put something that's false, it seems like people see it so much faster now.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. The consciousness level has risen, and their ability to discern and distinguish through what is actual deception and what is truth has increased as well. And this comes with the consciousness that's able to identify and to see what is not truth.
There was something that you mentioned too that I wanted. Let me see if I can find what it was. Let me see. Where was it? It was in the very spring color. I'm sorry about this. It was on the divine courage, or replacing it from the suppressive fear imprint. Empowerment traits for most all. Oh, I can't find it right now, but we can just continue.
Well,
It was just something interesting because
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, basically, what we are looking at as well, if you look at the gender traits, the characteristics, more so a courage is a masculine trait, if you will, but it is masculine identified, but it is in feminine and masculine as well. So this is a masculine gendered energy. It is a trait. And so when that is written, it doesn't mean for the masculine just to uh, uh, just to activate it and do it. It means all, because again, one of the teachings is basic teachings is that you have to complete your balance. You need to complete your feminine energy, and your masculine energy needs to be in balance, and each one has it. And typically what is accepted is that the left side of your vessel is the feminine side, the masculine is the right side. And with this, there is the distinction between the energetic values. And as a whole, we are in a dimension, space right now where the mother energy, mother gender energy, is the dominant force with this. And this is also where the divine feminine will and are leading the charge with this ascension. And as more of those step into their divine courage, they catapult this ascension forward. Typically, if you were to ask anyone, who would you trust more, uh, uh, a woman or a man? They're going to say a woman, and there's a very important reason for that. So what this does, it accreditates and validates the mother aspect and the feminine aspect, and they do play the lead roles in this ascension. But what has occurred so far, they're still in the process, individuals at doing the inner work and empowering this as well, but not only feminine as a collective whole, and masculine are doing it. But again, when we look at what was robbed in the lines of value, actually, the masculine upon the planet were robbed more of their value, in the sense that they had to be the protector, provider, if you will. And while and during the course of them being stereotyped by society to do that, they lost a huge part of their unconditional love, which is so important. So they lost their bonding with their family to a degree because of society, for the most part, would put the
Mm.
man out working away from the family unit. So this weakened the masculine, um, less than what the divine feminine was. The divine feminine was able, at least, to, through her through her maternity, instincts and childbearing, was able to keep the strong energetic bond between her and the children, which is the unconditional love, which is so important. So she was able to retain that most powerful key ingredient, to change things. And
Mhm.
yourself, it
Well,
was, uh, yeah.
well, they took some of that away from women, though, when they, encouraged them to go out to work and stuff, because then the care went
Mhm.
into the state care systems and so on, which programmed children at an even younger age, where they weren't getting the unconditional love from their mother, um, or father, for that matter, because father was always there, but now the mother's gone too, so both parents are gone, and they're being totally influenced by strangers, basically. And that's not to say there aren't good, but it's still not the same, because it's not the same type of bond usually.
Absolutely, yeah. Part of the ill intent, the actual evil, was, yes, to separate the family and any energetic bonds. And yes, many fell for it. But what we're doing with GPMS, this is the new world. We bring the family unit back together by, in several ways, where everyone is equal. They have their own money, that there doesn't need to be a provider for the family. And also, you bring the family unit back together without, long hours, let's say, being worked. So perhaps 10 hours a week, as we quickly transition into the new reality, and very rapidly after that, out of the use of money at all. But at doing that, we need to bring the family units back together as well, with that bonding. Because, as I mentioned earlier, we are reversing, as we ascend higher, everything that occurred. So when we descended, the family units were split apart, separated because they were easier to control and indoctrinate and condition. But we are on the way back up where the family units and the love and the morals is so important. So it comes
Right.
all back
There
together
was
as
that.
we
There was that other element that I've seen happen in the family situation where the man's out working, the woman's at home, and her maybe this is how they started the whole thing is denigrated to the extent, well, I'm bringing the money in, you're not, kind of, it's kind of sad. I mean, I've seen it, and it's but it was all by design, really. The whole movement in that direction was not to benefit
Yeah,
those.
very subtly, yes, year by year, and just kept subtly doing it and conditioning ones, but ones did not realize, what was occurring until they got separated so much, it kind of waked them up. What's going on here? No more family. And what am I working
Yeah,
for? What am I
exactly.
doing?
I don't have any time to spend with my family. I don't have any time to spend in the nice house that I just got, or because I have to be
Yeah,
working 24/7 in order to keep it going. Um,
exactly. Nonsense. Yeah, yeah. But that's how everyone was robbed of their value, through their sweat equity as well. Make them work and, forever. But that enslavement protocol by the darkness has been broken. As I said, it's all dissolving and imploding, while at the same time, the new world is being constructed. It's already under construction.
let's take a look GPMS World website. I'll share my screen.
Hmm.
Oops. There we go. This is the website you're referring to.
Yes, this is our new website, and everyone that gives their consent here and joins us is an equal member. So, in this time, we are all uniting together. We have the full strategy, the full plan, the full direction, and the end goal for humanity to take them out of this enslavement system into the new free and abundant system. So it's many idealistically, every awakened one upon the planet at this time should have been part of this. But of course, they are going through different parts of their process, and also a lot of them, because of their discernment, has not just been to the high enough level to know about their choices. It has. We're still going forward. It's getting more and more, but I'm just saying some of the obstacles what were out there. But it's divinely breaking down, and we focus on this unity.
I just really like this. I mean, I can't help but read over it a little bit. The abandonment of taxes and debt, loans, military payrolls, weapons, wages, abandonment of competition, profits, loss, working long hours, governments,
Yeah,
restrictions
well,
in
you don't need
offspring.
all that. It's nonsense. Look at everything we have here upon the planet, all of the infrastructure, and yeah, no one needs to work like that anymore. Where money is created out of thin air, it is unlimited and can be shared with everyone. And this is what GPMS is doing. The reason with the capitalistic system, they complicated it because the more complex it is, the easier it was to confuse ones to discovering the truth about it. So they entered financial markets, trading, derivatives,
You know what, Rick?
everything.
When I think about that, no, not only is that area complicated and difficult to follow, they've done the same thing in the legal arena. They did the same thing in the
No,
medical arena
I
with the
love. Yeah, I love their legal fiction because what they did, they've overregulated that so much, and during the course with the written laws, they actually wrote contradictory laws. And what this does, it begins to invalidate the entire uh, man made legal structure, if you will. But that doesn't matter. We are going with absolute real law, which is natural law based on the inherent intrinsic moral values of each, simply to do
And
what is right. And it's not right to have a society upon the planet that has caused poverty, that is killing 15,000 children every day. So ones cannot support the old capitalistic system because GPMS is here now. And one of the things it does is eradicate poverty instantly worldwide by the majority choosing to put their vote in here. This is a voting platform where you consent and you add your agreement, your accord to do what is right. And, I'll say this again, every moral human soul upon the planet is truly obligated to morally obligated divinely to become part of GPMS because it's the new world that we're creating. So all
that's what we want
will
to
be.
concentrate on. Well, Rick, I have to tell you, I'm playing a role with the right to travel freely. Because that is restricted in the United States and it's been used to pay for and capitalize different law enforcement groups and tow companies and all those. It's that um, putting things out that go against our divine um, right to travel freely. And they make it all about money, and it's usually money for them. And in a judicial system where you have a judge who puts out a fine and gets 45% of it, how is that? How is that fair? I mean,
Well, indeed, it's not impartial. That's why their system is null and void. You cannot have a judge that is being paid by the state or what have you. It's a direct conflict of interest, and it nullifies and voids anyone able to impartially make a decision. It's biased, so it's not fair in any fair
and that's
system.
exactly the same thing, Rick, that happens in the medical field because the insurance companies pay the doctors for certain things that incentivizes them to do that and to
Oh yeah, yeah,
encourage
a
it.
lot of that. This has come up as a lot of the truth as well. And I laughed at this several years ago with these so-called caregivers, doctors, and really there was no care. And look at this. I like using Africa, where
Oh my
children
God.
and people need medical attention, but the doctor, they need money first
Yeah.
before.
Actually, they need clean food and water would help a lot too. They
But
probably wouldn't
I
even need
mean,
the
look
doctor
at
so much.
yeah, but look at the doctor. Really, I mean, are they really a compassionate caregiver? What to to say you need money before you
Yeah. And to turn
assist
down
someone?
somebody because they
It's
don't have money.
absurd.
And they do that. If you don't have insurance or you don't have
Yeah,
money,
yeah,
sorry, we can't see you.
yeah. It's
That's
all
sad.
part of the cruel game. It's not about money, really. At the root of it's about creating animosity and misery, and that's why the whole system is designed like that, to put ones into stress. So it's put in there to keep them sick and disempowered, and to keep them in the state of fear so they don't know the truth. So, with GPMS worldwide, once we have the majority um, and implement this God's law upon the planet, all healthcare is free, everything what anyone needs is free, because that is the way that it should be. And the individual is the value with this, meaning that, yeah, you don't pay money to get medical assistance. No, that is cruel, that is savage. You don't do
we
that.
weren't
This
we weren't
man's
meant
free.
to have to pay to live, and that's what they managed to put
Yeah.
us in.
And it's absurd as well. So, all these absurdities, but the reason it has gone this far, because it was the conditioning and the brainwashing of ones, that has robbed them of their value. And there is the still yet, within, let's say, political systems or government systems, ones are still looking to try to find ways to fix up the system. But this is the mistake. The system itself, at its very core, is designed to create negative fear based energy. So the solution is not within any system, any country. The solution is within GPMS, because you start from the blank state or blank slate. And what you're putting on this is all of the good things, what everyone would want and everyone would enjoy, and what is actually humane. This is GPMS. What you have now is savage, and it's not acceptable anymore.
It is savage, and it's interesting that they used to call other people savage that weren't really savage. But anyway, okay, the GPMS, so people can go to this gpms.world, can go to this site and get more information. But I want to take a look at what you have under divine law. It's simplified divine law. The very essence of human nature requires no proof. Unalienable rights under divine law. I mean, they were trying to uphold that with constitutional, because I believe that was divinely inspired, but they've totally trashed it.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't. Yeah, you can't do it, because the way that, let's say, governments and nations worldwide, they tied the institution into the artificial law so that they could control the institution, or the constitution, and subsequently control humanity. So it was a guise, an illusion put in there as well. So it all had to be thrown away. It's not the way. There is no remedy within. There is no lawful remedy within the old system, because it's what it was. This is the lawful remedy. So with our, I will elaborate with our new website, what you have up there now. We are evolving and working on that. So some things as we go forward will be written differently. With divine law, what we put there is a general layman's terms, if you will, for make it easy for more to understand it, to keep it simple as possible. And, and divine law is actually simple. You just do no harm, is basically what it is. And don't have a system in your society that does that, like capitalism and and the ridiculous illegal fiction.
exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, it appears that at this stage of the game, people still have to deal with that um, in a variety of capacities. So as we move out of it, I will be happy to see those things fall away. How would you explain the divine plan for New Earth, if you can summarize it and people can go look at it? But you have a divine plan, a divine monetary system. Now, just out of the monetary system part, they say on other um, planets or ETs don't have money. It's not an issue. Is
Yeah,
this a direction? Is this moving in that direction? Is that what? No.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So this is the first transitory step, if you will. What we do to, because this is happening so rapidly, we have introduced the step where we flip the tables on the money by making money just so available to everyone. It places them in comfort. And what occurs shortly after that, they realize they don't need money at all. But at the same time, where this creates the great joy upon the planet, it raises the energetics and allows for the interaction from the other universal life forms and beings, which quickly advances humanity. Yeah, you don't need money now, but what we are doing, we need money to transition
Initially.
those that don't fully know how simple it is. So we only need the leaders up here to be the peers for the new reality, and then the rest will choose it. They don't need to be fully educated and fully awake. We only need that small number united as one, as I mentioned earlier, that are awake, and those are the peers. For example, you have 250, let's say, world leaders now with the nations and governments. With GPMS, once we have a solidified panel of 300, then that is put up worldwide, telling the people now, what are you going to choose? This capitalistic system of the government that enslaves and controls you and robs you? Or are you going to choose the all inclusive, moral, humane GPMS? So there is no contest, and they cannot oppose, and it's gone, if you will. So this is how um, yeah, this is how valid this is, and it's the most unprecedented, powerful um, transitioning in the blink of an eye ever. And I say in a blink of an eye because you're taking the old way that's been there for a millennium or more, many millennium, and you're creating the heaven on earth scenario. And we have the beauty of it is we have everything right now, right at this moment, upon the planet to create the heaven on earth scenario. So it's actually being constructed. So once we have the majority consents on the website, the majority agreements, these are your accords, your agreements. Once we have the majority of humanity agree to it, the majority rules, and then it's enacted worldwide, planet wide, into reality, and it's all done.
Where do the funds come from that eventually, I mean, as during this transition,
So,
where do the funds come from?
Gail, the same way they are created now, except we change the control. The people will be controlling how the funds are created. Really, right now, funds are just created by the elite,
Thin
some
air.
bankers
Yeah.
punching numbers into a digital system. But the beauty with GPMS, where we're taking ownership of all of these systems because we actually own them, the majority, when we take ownership, not only do we take ownership of the digital modality of creating money unlimitedly, we also take control of the printing process in case people want to still have physical money. So we take control of it all because we actually own it all. uh, Everything of all the public infrastructure upon the planet, including the internet and what have you, none of it would have been created if it wasn't for the people. So the sweat equity and the ownership, which is lawful, which also cannot be disputed, uh, created all this. So what you have is the 99% of the people, which are the shareholders, are having an actual vote worldwide to put in a new executive. But the new executive is the people themselves. So the old executive is the less than 1% elitist, and the new executive is the 99% of the people as a whole. With this, you will have what you call, let's say, leaders and administrators, but these administrators is getting the same value as a little child. So this means no one can be bought, and everyone is just working for the good of all and just using money and resources as a good tool to share it worldwide to advance humanity forward.
Well, I've
So
noticed one
you,
of the things, because there's a lot of talk about this new quantum financial system, which is obviously a different system. But when you talk about inequities, I see some of the inequities in that system already. They're supposed to be paying people back. But one of the things, one of the major concerns is that, well, nobody will work anymore. We won't have any of the goods that we need. And I just don't I don't believe that. I mean, everybody needs a vacation who's never been able to take one or never been able to travel where they wanted or what have you. But I think that people, when they settle back down, will want to do something. And they'll
oh,
have the
it,
yeah, and they'll have the
not only
opportunity to do what they really want and what they're really good at.
yeah, not only is it human nature to do something to access other ingenuity. I mean, we would not, if that was true, we would not be here today where we're at. So you look, many things were created as we come forward, and it doesn't stop. So no, people need a rest. I agree, but things will not shut down, and it's not human nature for everyone just to stop and do nothing. So they'll be quite happy to work a few hours to contribute worldwide to what they're doing now. And no, you won't have people, basically at the lowest level, people want to do something. They wish to be a little bit preoccupied, and it's because of that no, it doesn't shut down. When you look at the QFS, there's been a lot of twisting and manipulating that to support a narrative that's out there where it's a lot of wishful thinking. And with this, with that QFS, to my knowledge, most of the narrative is there's several factors. Who they say is going to do it actually just participated in the last 3 years, which caused incredible harm. So if these ones were the ones that were going to implement such a system, why did they cause this misery and harm in the last 3 years? That doesn't make sense at all. And then when you look at the factor where they wish to put the value externally on an outside resource like gold, if you will, then you need to look at who owns the gold now. It's the bankers and the elitists and the ones that actually caused most of the problems. So, why would a system be for the people based on that? But at the same time, it cannot compare to GPMS, which recognizes the infinite value of the individual because gold is actually finite, and it was used just as a trickery to keep one's thinking that a money had to have a backing by an external resource, when the true reality is that we are the resource. Money would not exist if we were not here. So this tells everyone, everyone watching, is the actual value. And what is going on with this QFS narrative? Once again, they're trying to rob you of your value
Yeah.
and say it's on gold so they can control you. Also, when you look at this QFS system, what they have is what you call some security protocols in there. At any time when you think you need to have security, this is protection that comes from a fear based thought in conception. So
That's
this
true.
is not 5D compatible because it has fear integrated into it at its foundation, at its core as well.
Well, And I saw a level of inequity too, because what was happening is the people that have a lot of resources, they're the ones that are purchasing, or that are, switching over to have it be gold backed, or whatever. Well, what about the people, because I have been, asked to, well, you should do this or you should do that. And I'm going, well, by the time I pay what I have to pay, there's nothing left. So what am I going to, I mean, I don't have assets at this point. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
so how can I do that? And the vast, maybe not the vast majority, but a very large percentage are people in the same boat. They live from check to check. And, and to have that change would be a humongous blessing for
It's a
everybody.
false hope, and I need to say that all of these narratives, Jasera and Nasera, the whole thing, it's a false hope. And the reason I need to say it is because I know who and what I am, what I said earlier, and my connection to God, and I know why GPMS is here because it is the divine vehicle. It is the deliverance, and because of that, that's why nothing else does it and nothing else serves. And as you can see, we are readily equipped at revealing and exposing the truth of these false narratives like QFS and what have you, because we are divinely bestowed and endowed with all of the information to actually show the one the truth and to show how they're being deceived, because the GPMS has the priority. It is the divine plan. It is the absolute release for all of humanity out of the enslavement mechanisms and attempts like Jacera, Nasara, QFS. They're all false narratives that were concocted and interjected with a lot of twisted information to keep ones in a state of false hope, but to keep them in a state of complacency and dependency over the years, while the actual evil were constructing their army of less than 2 billion, and doing funny, nefarious things like what happened in the last 3 years. So, this is the remnants of darkness, their underlying plan, what they had, their nefarious plan. So, the longer that they could keep ones focused on a false narrative, it would make these ones complacent, then it would give more time for the darkness to carry out their plan, which was, mass genocide, if you will.
Yeah.
And
And we have, and what so many people don't realize is that their governments are the ones all signed up for it, willing to genocide their own population.
well, it's all
And
part of the crime syndicate. That's why GPMS, why that is all thrown away. No, no, because it is the evil, as I said, their system and their network worldwide. Yeah,
yeah,
that
it's
is the problem. That is the darkness. GPMS is the full solution. Is the light where it doesn't contain any of that inequality,
wow.
you know, causing worldwide stress. It's absolutely absurd. There's nothing to fight for in this GPMS world because everyone has everything and is sharing
Okay.
everything.
Can you
Comfort.
imagine? Can you imagine how much the vibration of the planet, the people, the humans, would go up without having that stress on them? That, oh my
Absolutely.
God,
This
I'm
is
not going
what
to have enough
fuels.
money to pay my rent. I'm not going to have enough money to pay. What am I going to do now? They're going to shut me off. Stuff like that, and they do it. And it really is a demonstration of the inequity and the stress that are put on people to live in this system as it is, the matrix.
Yeah, yeah. And it's done intentionally and nefarious with nefarious intent, indeed. But that's the past because we got GPMS here, the new world, and this is growing very rapidly. I'd like to say it's been picking up a lot of speed in the the amount of consents coming in daily over the last few
Oh,
weeks.
that's encouraging. That's good. That's really good.
We look at, I love. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I hope that, listeners and the show helps bring it to more people. So people are aware of it. I mean, sometimes awareness is part of the issue, because it's not like it's something that you're going to get in your newspaper or on TV or anything like that. So awareness is important. You can't sign up for something you don't know about. Right?
True, yes. And this is where we're at. We're in phase one, spreading that awareness, collecting the lawful consents. And I say lawful because with that comes the individual's divine, unalienable rights, which is more powerful law than anything out there. So, what we're doing is we're combining all of the individuals with this concrete um, absolute natural law, which nothing can compare nor contest against. Again, it's do no harm is the basics of it. And so you eliminate all of the things, including the capitalistic system that caused the great harm. And you made a very important point. Once everyone knows they have this choice and what's coming and agree to it, they're all lift up in instant stress. Are instant relief of stress, is what I need to say. They're lift into joy, and this is the higher vibration. And it's in this joy where that stress is taken from them. They don't need to worry about a future or where their next dollar is coming from. They also are healed as a result of it because it's stress that causes 99% of the sickness in one. The other 1% is caused by the pharmaceuticals, the chemicals, and all of this. But that is also being eliminated with GPMS. We're no longer, it's what you quickly do, for example, with GPMS, all essential goods and services upon the planet are instantly, unlimitedly funded, especially all of the holistics and organics. They're unlimitedly funded with money, but also any machinery, any resource that they need, and also with volunteer. Well, it's not exactly volunteers, but more people to contribute to it because when we are focused on just the essential goods and services, it means a lot of the other trivial things that were created as jobs that doesn't enhance and support taking humanity forward. Those jobs are no longer there, like insurance agencies. That is just part of the capitalistic system. So what you have though is bona fide souls that work there that we don't need that industry anymore. And you can imagine worldwide how big that is. So you have a
Oh,
lot of
huge, huge, huge. And they're largely responsible for a lot of the problems we have, especially in the medical industry. I mean, actually, over the last 3 years, and at what point, I don't know, but doctors used to be the third leading cause of death, and now they're the first.
Yeah.
I'm sure some might argue with that, but when you look at the and the things related to it, which I can't say freely,
absolutely. Yeah. They all
it's
participated. They're all accomplices in,
because they were incentivized by money
bought
from the insurance companies. They would get so much
bought.
money.
So they sold their souls to do what was wrong.
Yes. Yeah. So do you just see that all the, like there's also talk about med beds. What do you think about that?
Oh, all of that is very real, and that is the new technology. But also, the truth is, the med beds have been upon the planet, that technology, for, I'll say, a century and more.
But they just kept it from the people.
Yeah,
they kept it.
Indeed.
Yeah. Just like there's what are they? What are Trump's 6,000 different medical technologies that have been kept from people that
Patents,
were
if you
healing.
will. Yeah, yeah. There's so much. The time
It's
travel
unbelievable.
as well. For example, with your planes in the sky, you don't need them. That there is time travel that has been upon the planet that can transport one instantly from, let's say, you're in the U.S. to Japan in a second. You don't need these airplanes, if you will.
Would that be teleportation, or would that be
Yeah, yeah, same thing,
or is-
teleportation.
but they have
But
okay, but so they have the technological equipment, if you will, to be able to do that, correct?
yeah, 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 they've been using that. That's one of the reasons Femke and I was divinely called here to Romania, because some of that technology was also here and was working, and some of that technology was taken out of here too. But that's another story. But it is very real.
Okay. I have a question that came in. It says, does it include replicators and dematerializers?
Well,
Dematerializers.
of course, everything is possible once humanity has control over the technology. But all of these things, yes, you can manifest. Let's say you can manifest yourself. So why not? Can you so why can't you have, let's say, a machine that can replicate? But you already have this. When you look at your 3D printers that is in use worldwide, they are a primitive form of a replicator. The technology again is already here.
Oh,
So
we're getting some
yes,
questions now. Here's another one. What's a natural tech that we can soon discover? Is natural tech completely out of their control?
that is
And
an interesting question. I don't really fully know how to perceive it right at this moment to answer it. What is a natural technology that we can soon discover? Well, what I won't do is label anything, but I keep everything open that there very well could be, with that. So I believe, yeah, if you wish to formulate your question a little bit better, put some more
yeah, I
clarity
don't know
on it.
what you mean exactly by natural tech.
Yeah.
Because tech is tech. I
Well,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. It leaves a lot of ambiguity there that you don't know which way to take it.
So if you can, Jay thought if you can reword it or think of another way to put it, might be able to answer it a little better. But
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
anyway, so once again, the place we would encourage you to go and in is GPMS.world, and you'll get all the information that you want that we've been talking about. And the more people that we get to consent, the sooner it would be able to be implemented. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, worldwide. Yeah, once we had the majority, and with this, you look on the
What is the
website.
majority? How much
Well,
do we need?
really, what we need is just over 3 billion, because what I said again during the course of going
3 billion.
forward. Uh, as we increase this, it's raising the vibration of reality where the darkness, the minions, and those constructs cannot go forward. So, what occurs is that you actually need less than that. And and also I love using the power of numbers. If you use the power of, I think, three, where we have about 63,000 signed up, and if each one gave it to three, that gave it to three, if you will. I think in less than 12 days, we could have that majority worldwide. That's how quick it could happen. So when you go into virality, but what's occurring is, idealistically, it is gaining momentum, but you have part of the consciousness programming that is also being broken down. So we are contending with many variables, but as it keeps getting stronger and stronger, it's energetically affecting those variables for more to come into alignment with the
Yeah,
GPMS.
that
If you
just makes
look on,
sense.
if you look on the website, it's country by country table as well. You can see how many have consented. I think we have 144 countries with at least one has consented that it's seated in 144 countries. Um,
That's an interesting number.
yeah, isn't it too? But and also, when you look at it, you're going to see the biggest numbers is coming from East or Southeast Asia. And there is a very important, relevant factor to look at when looking at that. And what is very important, I love to use the Philippines as the example to just for what I'm about to say. The Filipino brothers and sisters are coming on very strong now, and to my knowledge, there's tens of millions of them that are ready. So these numbers are going to increase. But what they're currently contending with is they have data inputters to put the names, consents in, but many there don't have internet as well, so it takes time. But the point with the Philippines, they have gone through the course of attempting to get governments to assist them, and poverty is very extreme, no change. Uh, Many of these Filipino brothers and sisters also had the hope in, let's say, Jusera, Nacera, Trump, QFS,
Mhm.
let's say Kim Gogan, let's say prosperity funds. But what they have seen over the years is, they put their trust and hope in that, but they also saw it did not come to fruition. But with GPMS, they now know and see that it's the only way that the people worldwide have to take control of the entire system because they've already been through all of this. The same with India, what's coming on there strong. The problem with the Western world is that they didn't fully know what was going on. They did not try to the extent of, let's say, what the Filipino did to get the government to do the right thing because the Western world was bought more, if you will, into the comfortable situation. But of
Not all of
course, in
us. Yeah. But
last
anyway,
3 years, that's all been shaken to its core. And
yeah.
so very quickly, with US, I believe we have around uh, 3,100 in there,
Oh,
but
wow.
ideally, the US really, when this goes catches momentum in the U.S., there's a huge viral effect with it. So when it is the catalyst to also put this viral, but at the same time, we are seeing India and the Philippines, which are actually taking this forward. So let's say it might not need the U.S. The U.S. could have did this very quick to take this forward, but we're not seeing that as the case for various consciousness and heart reasons yet. But, let's
Mhm.
say the main thing is
Well,
we want everyone to go together and get it done. And it doesn't,
yeah, I think part of the problem, and I hate to keep reiterating the same thing over and over for Americans, is that we have been very targeted with poisons in our air, in our food, in our water,
everywhere.
more so than any other place at this time. And I think it's like it actually puts like a layer over people that has to dissipate more as they begin in it, but then they begin to see more than they're able to at this point. It's either that or the level is there are some people that are um, probably too comfortable to get involved at this point. They were, like, what's the point? I'm happy. I got plenty of money. Why should I worry? That kind of thing. Unless they have a moral conscience.
But also,
But
in different countries and regions around the world, we're seeing that, like in the UK, so many were awake with protests. But if you look on the website, there's only about 800, just over 800 in the UK that are actually part of this. And as I
oh
said,
wow,
idealistically, worldwide, with all the protests, there was, let's say, perhaps a billion. Where are they at? This is what they were protesting for, this new free world. And this is it. And we've kept it so simple: come together, the majority vote does it, the majority rules. But
so
so,
very.
for many different reasons. Yeah, it's by area to area.
Well, QFA had just mentioned that divine tech. There was talk that divine tech is different than AI.
Hmm.
I don't know how.
Not readily, let's say, nothing comes right to mind quickly with this. But let's say, again, that AI, what's upon the planet, is also being taken over for the light, reconditioned, reprogrammed as well, with the negative connotations as part of its program is being taken out. And AI, let's say, is somewhat a tool for humanity going forward that will be utilized benevolently. But in reality, you're going into Christ consciousness, where the consciousness will know more than the AI, because the AI is only as good as the consciousness that created it. At this point, that consciousness came from the fourth dimension. We are multi-dimensional from the fifth dimension upward. So it means the amount of reasoning, rationale, and beyond human logic is contained within the Christ consciousness. And this maybe gets into what you were saying about the divine tech, and is tied in with what we do, that we can energetically command, when it's allowed, an AI or the molecules to obey what is only positive and good in creation. So, in that sense, you could say a divine tech as well.
Awesome. Well, I just realized we've been going for over an hour and a half, and I am going to have to. Uh, um, time we just have to do another one, I guess.
Yeah, having said that, Gail, I feel, if it resonates with you, I'd love to do a GPMS specific. Perhaps if you have the time a week from now or so, I'd like to do it pretty soon if your schedule is open, because there is so many important developments with GPMS, but there's also so much more important detail that can be shared with the viewers and with the world, but also to purvey this information to others so they can understand more readily what GPMS is, so they also can be presenters of it and take it forward.
I think that's very true, because I think that's part of the problem. Because when people look at it, will find it very easy to consent to. um,
Yeah, yeah.
and it appears next Tuesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. I have the first is on Wednesday, and so we could do it in 1 week if you want me. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, great. Yeah, let's do that. And around the same time is great for I, if it's good for you. We finally got located in a base there where I got strong internet. I think the first time for a few years. So
Oh
we're
wow.
divinely positioned here, I think, for about 2 months. So it'll give, yeah, me the time to connect with more of you out there. Jay Thought says, how will we learn to command molecules and atoms around us or in the body? That's already begun. And what I'm putting out, perhaps within the next 24 hours on my Facebook page, is a part of a meditation, a guided meditation that we are doing, currently working on. It may be done uh, to this effect, to align your own atoms first. So this is part of, this is an instrumental step to that effect of what you're asking, Jay Thought, about how to command the molecules and atoms in your body, because this also, you are allowed right now divinely in this reality. And I say allowed because everything is divinely regulated here, yet you are allowed and it's encouraged that you do connect with every molecule so that you begin to change it and command it as part of the ascension to take it forward with your own empowerment in your multi-dimensional abilities. So that is actually, it has been here before, and you had some healers and um, some of the healing modality and techniques, they integrate a part of that, and also with the consciousness, what has occurred with certain ones where your consciousness has reached uh, a certain level of its development, its evolution, you're able to now consciously interact with your energetic field with the atoms in it as well.
I have this, I've learned this one great little statement that I got from someone in that I really like. And it's like, it's Christ light, stand forth, take command. And Christ light, stand forth, take command. So, when you're if you're in a bad situation or something like that, it's a good one to use. But anyway, that's what I did when I had my little one. Anyway. Well, I would encourage everyone to look up GPMS.world and look for another session with Rick here next week, and we'll get more specific on the GPMS.world. So,
yeah.
All righty. Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much for your time and
thank you.
What you share. Very important stuff.
And love.
And thank you, listeners.
And gratitude. And I'm going to go. We'll speak soon, Gail. Thank you so much.
All right.
And all of the listeners.
All the listeners out there. Thank you all. Bye-bye now.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers. Stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors.